So, Father, what do you think about where we should start?
Well, I had originally thought that we should start in America, right here. But then there are so many monasteries being built, I gave up that idea.
Yeah, you're right about that. So we'll have to look further afield, maybe South America.
South America, graciously, no. Can't go to South America. You'd have to learn Portuguese, you'd have to learn Spanish. All those, never mind. But no, not a good idea.
Well, what about Africa? I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Africa? But there must be lots of monasteries in Africa. Monasticism began there.
Well, in fact, there's not even one.
Good gracious, how can that be?
Maybe we should go there. If it's God's will, I think we should pray about it, and maybe that's where we should go.
I think you're right. I think that sounds like a very good idea.
Sending down upon them the Holy Spirit, and through them didst draw the world into thy net. O lover of mankind, glory be to thee.
There are before us two possible paths. One is for the cautious and would make orthodoxy an insignificant minority in the United States of Europe, which would be headed by the Antichrist. The other is for the brave, who will be able to spread orthodoxy in countries such as China, India, and Africa, and God willing, orthodoxy will exist there for many, many years to come. Bishop Danilo of Budin, direct disciple of Father Justin Popovic. So you remember how it began? A year in Serbia, a year on the Holy Mountain, a year, 3 months in the Holy Land. Then we left the Holy Land on the very day of the Ascension.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes, what a symbolic thing. And we left the Ben Gurion airport, taken by a nun who drove extremely quickly, and ended up in Greece.
That's where we met the Metropolitan.
Correct, and we met very fine people and were very impressed with them. I was tonsured the monk there, and we got a blessing to go to Africa.
That was on the feast day of Pentecost itself, the feast day of our monastery.
Precisely, which is a very important, another symbolic event. It was to us in any case, the feast day of the monastery. And then we arrived in Africa, and the first thing we did was...
Well, we built a chapel.
It's called it a cathedral, because it was, as we were concerned at the time, the nicest thing we had done by ourselves. But then we decided we'd go on our first missionary activity to Botswana.
So somebody gave us a car, And that is how we started. We put everything on the roof and off we went. It took us a few hours to get there. The next thing, once we got there, we put up a tent, which was where we did, where we held the services. And every day the children would come to the services, and we did Bible studies for them, and they helped us with washing all sorts of things, and we taught them icons, how to paint icons, and they loved that. Then we came back.
Again in our 1963 Volvo.
1960, wasn't it?
No, 60, no. A very old car, older than you are in any case. And we came to Andrew's place at Henob's River, St. Andrew's Chapel, and he offered us to stay there, and we started some buildings. We were there. How long were we there altogether?
10 months. 10
months, was it 10? I thought it was 8. And we started a chapel in Pretoria, very small place in somebody's backyard, and icons were painted there as well. Back at Andrew's place, at the church, we had some of our services. This is our first Slava, the Feast of Pentecost, and our congregation was quite small then, but we managed to do certain things, didn't we? It was quite enjoyable. Here you are giving lectures. Do you remember what you talked about?
No, I don't remember.
Can't remember. Probably nobody else does either. But it was very pleasant. Those days in the backyard of the chapel under the trees was very nice. We had Greek visitors as well. We also had baptisms there at the time. Quite a number of them, actually.
Then we went off looking for our own land, and it was difficult at first. We didn't know exactly how we were going to buy land with just a little bit of money that we had, but God has His way of providing for us. So the next thing is we found land at an excellent price. We put up our tents. Very soon we built a little chapel. Then we built some cells for ourselves. And the brotherhood at that time was small, but we kept all of the services, and things were going quite well for us. People came to the monastery, and we had all sorts of people to baptize. We had meetings, we had trainings and seminars, and this. And here I'm teaching two. One is from Malawi, and the other is from Zimbabwe. All different types of people were coming to the monastery.
Then we decided that we were actually due to thank St. Demetrios for what he'd done for us. We'd actually been able to buy the property on the day of St. Demetrios and said that we would actually build a church in his honor. We decided one year, early in the spring on Epiphany, to put up a cross on the spot where the church would be, not knowing how we'd finance it. Nevertheless, it was rather miraculous, and without any money, 3 months later, the entire church was actually completed and paid for. And we were rather surprised, so was everybody else. And it went up very, very quickly, and we were very, very proud of it, because everybody else was as well. The bishop came, Bishop Ambrose, representing the Metropolitan all the way from Greece, and we had a large number of people that day for the celebration itself. It was quite an event, and we won't forget it. It was very, very colorful.
That was, I think, 2003.
2003, yes, in the autumn of the year, in November. That November event is commemorated every year. Here in the following November, we have our first St. Demetrios Day celebration, which is a gathering, the biggest gathering we have at the monastery. We have large crowds of people come out for that.
Well, the next thing we did, we were invited to do an exhibition at the Pretoria Art Gallery, and we did it on the Royal Martyrs of Russia, which was quite a successful event. Here is a view of the little chapel we built. This is the entrance of the Virgin into the temple, and This is Brother Paul, who was a novice for a while. Then here is Brother Frumentius, together with the people who come from Attridgeville. He converted to the Orthodox faith and brought quite a few with him.
We had Lenten cooking classes at that time.
That's right, I remember that.
Yes, Brother Paul did some things and I did others.
Yes, this is a view inside the large church itself where we do the services most of the time. I don't remember, this was 2004. Pascha, exactly.
Here's one of the ladies who helped paint the church, receiving some of the holy bread. Then came the season of baptisms, mass baptisms.
That's yes, that is Frumentius, together with others with him, who we baptized. Here we're taking them on their first steps round the church as Christians. And this is a view outside of some of them. And then there was Christmas.
Christmas, but what an interesting Christmas. We introduced the Serbian Badnjak here in Africa to African people. The Serbian church here has their own Badnjak ceremony, but not for Africans. This was different. All these baptized people took a part in that. And here we have the interior of the church on Christmas Day, and they're already taking part in the things that we are doing. Here is our resident Kozak, in charge of the security at the monastery, Russian fellow.
Father Nazarius, looking very well and healthy after he was sick, but we thank God that he is now well with us.
Then came the missionary trips. Father Elias went on a number of missionary journeys, and he went to Kenya, he went to Uganda, and hopefully he will go to the Congo next year.
That's right. This is the convent which is in Kenya. It's the convent church. These are the priests, some of the priests that we met together with Bishop Ambrose. These are the Africans who are residents actually in Philly in Greece. I was meeting with some of them there, meeting of the Africans. And children and people from Kanja and Embu area. And here we have Uganda, some of the seminarians we would like to train, and some of the people as well. That is Father Joachim is running the mission there. And again, some of the priests from the Embu area near to the convent. And this is up in Meru, the priests and the deacons.
Well, now we're back at the monastery. Father Elias has come back from his trip, and the flowers are all in bloom. And the little chapel that we built originally is now surrounded by flowers and trees and all sorts of little things. Our future, well, the future should be something like this. The monastery we plan on building sometime towards the end of this year. We're waiting for the city now to give us approval for these projects of ours. The brotherhood of the monastery at the moment is the three of us, but we manage somehow, and we manage quite well. Then this is from the latest St. Demetrios Day celebration. All the hands are holding the festal bread. And of course there was a large crowd. We had a large crowd of African dancers from the local high school. They were very, very pleased to come, and we all enjoyed them very, very much.
Next door to Attridgeville, which is a city, we have built a children's home, and we have plans to put up a church there as well. So we have 25 hectares of land there. So there's a lot of promise we've got there. This is something what the house looks like, which we've built. The number of orphans we have is about 8, and here is a picture of some of them. Who are gathered there, and they come to church, of course, every Sunday. And Frumentius and his wife Evgenia are the ones who are in charge of our children's home. So
the future.
This is the beginning.
This is the beginning.
Our Lord was teaching there by the seashore, and all the people gathered to hear. Men by the thousands, women and children, came from great distance just to be near. Bring me your loaves and give me your fishes, and I will pray to my Father above, and He will feed you all with these blessings, though they be little through His great love. And He will feed you all with these blessings, though they be little through His great love. Then the loaves, morning to evening, feeding the people with words of love, teaching His children through love and justice, and how to look to heaven above. Bring me your loaves and give me your fishes, and I will pray to my Father above, and He will feed you all with His blessings, though they be little through His great love. And He will feed you all with His blessings, though they be little through His great love.
Father Elias is one of the two founders of the monastery here, and is presently the head of the mission. Obviously, Father, you oversee a large number of projects, some which are already up and running, some are in the process, and some are on the drawing board. In your work here as missionaries into Africa, you've always stressed the importance of a monastery as a center of this activity. Can you maybe tell us a little more about that concept?
Well, I think it was the Lord Himself who set the example for the rest of us, because He Himself obviously was a form of a monk, and together with Himself we have also the example of the rest of the apostles. And so in seeing that the missionary work that was done through the apostles was really done in that type of monastic atmosphere in which in which the apostles lived as monks or as brothers, so that's was really the idea that we had, that if we're going out there to be missionaries, we should do it in the same apostolic sense that the Lord Himself had set up. So not to try to add something new or have our own ideas, go with what the Lord Himself had set down. So, but much more than that, of course, what a monastery is it's the center of, it's the center of the life of the church. It's a place, it's a lighthouse on a hill. It's a place to which people can come to see, well, not only to learn about the Christian faith, but to see the Christian faith or the faith in the gospel actually being, practiced, actually to see the life of what the gospel speaks about. And so that is the idea of a monastery. It gives us the reality of what the gospel is. So not only we who preach, but we who are living according to the gospel. So that is essential in what the missionary work is, that people can see that we really live according to what we teach. So
Father Nazarius, Archimandrite Father Nazarius has served as the head of the mission from the beginning of about the year 2000 until 2005, which were probably the most difficult years of the mission as it was establishing itself and being on various properties. A serious kidney condition made it necessary for Father to cut back on this activity, but obviously hasn't stopped, quite to the contrary. A few years ago we actually came quite close to losing our Father on this monastery, but thank God you are still with us. Perhaps you can mention to us how plans and things that you implemented, how have you managed to continue with the vision without becoming discouraged or despondent, that you wouldn't be able to perhaps see them through or be actively involved in them?
Well, from the very beginning in this, Father Elias and I have always worked as a team. The two of us have been together in this, and so what one of us does or what the other does is pretty much the same thing. So he took over where we started, but it was always something that we did together from the beginning. I was, of course, concerned about my health. I didn't realize, as the doctor told me, you didn't realize how sick you really were. They had in the state hospital put me on a waiting list. And from a doctor later on, I discovered that all 15 people on that waiting list passed away. And if I hadn't gone into private health, I would have been one of those people on the list. As it is, in the last couple of years, the medical technology has assisted me to live basically a normal life. But the things I used to do before, like running around this and that in the car to do this and that, I really can't do anymore. I'm retied to the place more than I ever was before. But of course, Father Elias is here. He's younger than I am, has more energy, and can do these things that take him outside of the monastery. My primary concern, of course, as Father said, we wear several hats. One of mine is to go to be the monastery cook. As long as I don't have to do the dishes, I don't mind being the cook, and thank goodness there is someone to do the dishes. So I enjoy doing that, and it is a blessing to be able to provide something for the other fathers of the monastery. It's a great thing. But much more than that, there is a very serious business, and that's not to say that cooking isn't a serious business, because when cooking is bad, it could be a very serious business. But nevertheless, the serious business, of course, is a project which is very close to my heart and has been for a long time, and that would have to be our seminary, the seminary of the three holy hierarchs. The name comes from the seminary which I graduated from in Dalmatia, in Yugoslavia at the time, and we are carrying that name over here. It is a very, very important project. To have a seminary for the Church in Africa is absolutely essential. At the moment, there are a large number of priests who are serving in parishes throughout Africa, belonging to our jurisdiction. And most of them have been trained as apprentices with other priests. Now that very much depends on the quality of the man who's doing the teaching, how much he knows, how interested he is, and what sort of a spiritual life he himself leads. It can be good, it can be mediocre, it can be not so good. What we want to do is establish some sort of norm which is common for everyone in the African Orthodox Church, in an intellectual and academic way, in a spiritual way. That's why it's extremely important for us that the seminary be in a monastery. Even though these people who become priests are not all going to be monastic priests, they will nevertheless have breathed in the essence of Orthodox spirituality by spending, we hope, 5-6 years in the monastery. And of course the liturgical life of the monastery will add a richness to the parish life that otherwise it would not have had. In other words, they are starting out with the best possible opportunity to provide a cadre of priests is absolutely essential for the future of the Orthodox Church. The opposition out there is tremendously well educated and well funded. We have neither of these. And although it might seem strange that we are at this point in time starting on such a grandiose project, nevertheless now is the time to do it. We have the opportunities. We are here. We are still young enough to be able to teach other people what we know. We've been to many other countries, seen many, many things, and there is actually quite a bit that we can impart to the people of this country to make their future better than it would otherwise have been. Of course, we are always faced with the major question, which is the question of expense. How many seminarians can you actually have? We have projected for about 150. We actually have here a sketch designed by Father Elias, who is the architect for most of the things you see here. It's actually, I've got 2 floors here, but it's a 3-story building, which would include a church, a refectory, dormitories, classrooms, and other spaces. The 3 Hierarchs Seminary would be a school of theology as well as a catechetical school for those who are interested in study. This seminary building, as I said, would house 150 people. But where are we going to get 150 people? I'm not really concerned about the numbers. There are obviously 150 possible students out there. The question is, how do we afford to bring them from Congo, from Kenya? Even the transportation is usually above their means. How do you keep them for a 5-year course, feed them, clothe them, educate them, pay all these expenses? That is the thing that's going to limit us.
Father John, you are from Africa, from Kenya. What role do you see the monastery here playing in the role of the African Orthodox Church?
The monastery, as we know, is very important in the Orthodox religion, as it's the backbone of the church. And so, having the monastery around Africa, it will be of great help, particularly to the young Africans who wants to study and know the true religion of Orthodoxy.
The world has got a big pull for normal normal Christians, particularly the children and the young adults in Attridgeville and around Joburg. The world is pulling them away from God all the time. Do you think that the monastic life can do anything to help them to stay closer to God?
Yes, in a sense that people will get to know and look at the examples of how monastics live and how the church should be run and how the true Christians should live from day to day in terms of worship and the true religion.
Do you think South Africa, this monastery here, is a good place for it to happen?
Yeah, I think it's one of the best places because it's particularly it's easier to reach South Africa. Geographically, it has the best climate, and most of the people, we don't have currently a monastery, so most of the people will be pulled to come to South Africa as a center for orthodoxy, particularly in Africa.
Thank you very much, Father John.
Welcome.
We have here Brother Frumentius and Sister Evgenia of the Stembile Children's Home, and the Orthodox Church and the monastery particularly here has been very involved with their work that they're doing, and at the moment they have 8 children in the home. Some of them are not here at the moment. Brother Frumentius, tell us, has the monastery been of assistance to you, and how has coming to the Orthodox Church for the Sunday services been of assistance to you in your home?
Oh, the Orthodox Church help us a lot about the children and ourselves also. Also for us to come into church every morning, our fathers give us help a lot.
And tell us, Sister Evgenia, how do you find that the children do they enjoy coming to church? Do you have to force them to come?
I don't force them. They enjoy to come to church. They even on Saturdays they usually told me, Mama, don't forget tomorrow is Sunday, to wake up early in the morning to go to church.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And how many children are you able to actually take on? Because every time I see you, you've got another child.
We can take them as many as we can because our place is very big.
Oh, really?
And our fathers are still prepared to extend it for other children again.
And are you able to cope with all these children? Because you're now a mother and a father to 8 children. Are you able to cope with being a mother and father to more children?
Yes, a lot. We need a lot. And because the assistance from the fathers is very much, 100%.
Thank you very much. Sister Damaris, it's very nice to have you here. You came to visit us, and you've been here for the first time. You came to visit us about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we're just interested to know any impressions that you've had of the monastery when you first arrived.
My first personal impression was that I felt that God's presence could be felt here. Felt that there was a lot of peace and a great difference from coming from the world into the monastery. Immediately feel the difference, and I feel that's good for the faithful here to have a spiritual monastery in the area.
And any comments? What do you think the potential is for women monasticism in South Africa, and particularly in this area? Do you think it's important?
I do feel that it's very important. I feel there's a need and a desire of the people. I think that it sets a tone, the spiritual tone of the faithful lay person to see the monastic life, and especially for women, they can be more involved in the monastic life and learn from the nuns every day.
Do you think it's possible? Is it something that we could hope for?
Definitely. I believe that God would prepare people for it.
Do you think so?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
This is Anna Wilson, and she did the wonderful work you see here. Anna, did you ever in your life think that you would have such a project to do?
I never ever imagined doing something like this.
And now, after 2 years of finishing it, what are your impressions?
Well, I'm just very privileged to have had this opportunity to learn so much and to be able to come to such a beautiful, peaceful place so often. So I'm really grateful to God for that.
Okay. May it be a work of blessing for you and your family and all the members. God will take this all into consideration. Thank you very much, Anna.
I worship and magnify and glorify thee, my God, for blessed art thou both now and unto the ages of ages. Amen. O God, loose, remit, and pardon me my transgressions wherein I have sinned against thee, whether by word, deed, or thought, voluntarily or involuntarily, consciously or unconsciously. Forgive me all, for thou art good and the lover of mankind, and through the intercessions of thy most pure mother, and heretic ministers, and holy hosts, and all the saints who from the ages have been pleasing unto thee, deign to allow me without condemnation thy holy and immaculate body and precious blood, and to the healing of
all the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. Alleluia.
Then 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, who had been dead, whom he had raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of those who sat at the table with him. Then Mary took a pound of very costly oil of spikenard, anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. Then one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, who would betray him, said, Why was this fragrant oil not sold for 300 denarii, and given to the poor? This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief, and had the money box, and he used it to take what was put in it. Then Jesus said, Let her alone. She has kept this for the day of my burial. For the poor you have with you always, but me you do not have always. Then a great many of the Jews knew that he was there, and they came not for Jesus' sake only, but they might see also Lazarus, who he had raised from the dead. But the chief priests took counsel that they might also put Lazarus to death, because on account of him many of the Jews went away and believed in Jesus. The next day a great multitude had come to the feast. When they heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem, it took branches of the palm trees and went out to meet him.
There are services every day, otherwise the monastery is always open to attend the services, and there will be many of them this coming week. Preparing a Serbian potato salad for the feast. I'm going to make an American one with mayonnaise in it and eggs and what have you. People like different sorts of things. One of the things I'm working on is a cookbook. This one here, and there are many of them available, these cookbooks for fasting periods. This one is called Food for Paradise, a meatless cookbook. It's actually quite good, but all the recipes contain oil. And when you're looking for a great Lenten cookbook, this really doesn't meet up to it. So I'm in the process at the moment of writing recipes that are oilless altogether, and I think it will come in handy for people who keep a strict fast during the Lenten period, that is without oil. So there you are. This building we're in now originally started out being an office with computers in it. But when we discovered we needed a kitchen more than we needed anything else, we decided to change the office into a tiny kitchen. We actually have our breakfast here most of the time, and our main meal we eat in the other new lapa at the moment. What do you got here? No. Oh. Those are strašno javovi. Welcome. Dobro nam došli. We are very, very happy to see you here, and we hope you come back again for this occasion next year, and also visit us in the interim. At the head table at this particular time, we have, to my extreme right, Brother Fermentius Bobakla, who is in charge of our community in Attridgeville, Brazzaville, and is also the secretary of the African Orthodox Church. Right next to me here, we have Father Elias, who is the head of the ecclesiastical mission of the Synod and Resistance of the Orthodox Church of Greece, to which we belong. He is also the abbot of this monastery and co-founder of the monastery. Elias. On my left, I have Mr. Skosana, representative of the councillor for Ward 7, and I'm told hopefully to be the next councillor of Ward 7, which is the largest group of people in all of Trondheim, an awful lot of people that they have to work with. And thank you very, very much for coming. Attridgeville is close to our hearts, and we hope to do a lot of work there in the future, and we hope to do it with you. The bread of life and the resurrection of the dead, what more can you ask for, brothers and sisters? So let us all enjoy together this festival of Christian joy, Paslava. Thank you very much. May Christ our true God, through the prayers of His most pure Mother, through the prayers of the holy apostles Peter and Paul, and all of the holy apostles, together with Saint Demetrios of Thessalonica, whom we commemorate today, all the saints of Africa, the righteous ancestors of God Joachim and Anna, and all the saints have mercy on us and save us, for He is good and the lover of mankind. Amen. Lord Jesus Christ our God, bless this the food and drink of these thy servants, for thou art holy, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Please sit down, and remember, this is a no smoking zone.
Георгие, моли Христа Бога, спаси ся душам нашим. Слава Отцу и Сыну и Святому Духу, и ныне и присно и во веки веков. Аминь. Возделан от Бога показался нашим.
Слава Тебе, Христе Боже, апостолом поклону, мучеником радование, ниже проповедь Троица, едино сушмая.
Passion and majesty hast thou put on, who coverest thyself with light as with a garment, who stretches out the heaven as it were a curtain, who supporteth his chambers in the waters, who appointeth the clouds for his ascent, who walketh upon the wings of the winds, maketh his angels spirits, and his ministers a flame of fire, who establisheth the earth in the sureness thereof. It shall not be turned back forever and ever. Is like a garment is his mantle. Upon the mountains shall the waters stand. At thy rebuke they will flee. At the voice of thy thunder shall they be afraid. The mountains rise up and the plains sink down unto the place where thou hast established them. Thou appointedst a bound that they shall not pass, neither return to cover the earth. Setteth hot springs in the valleys, between the mountains will the waters run. They shall give drink to all the beasts of the field. The wild asses will wait to quench their thirst. Beside them will the birds of the heaven lodge. From the midst of the rocks will they give voice. He watereth the mountains from his chambers. The earth shall be satisfied with the fruit of thy word. He causeth the grass to grow for the cattle, and green herb for the service of men. Bring forth bread out of the earth, and wine maketh glad the heart of man.
trees of the plain shall be satisfied, the cedars of Lebanon which thou hast planted. There will the sparrows make their nests, the house of the heron is chief among them. High mountains are a refuge for the hearts, and so is the rock for the head. Made the moon for seasons, the sun knoweth his going down. Ozbranoj vojevodje pobjeditelnaja, jako izbavoše od zlih, blagodatstvenaja, vospisujem ti radi tvoji, Bogorodice, no jako imušaja državu nepobjedimuju, od svjakih nas vijek slobodi da zovem ti, radujся, nevjesto, nevjesnaja.
Maybe we should do this for the liturgy just a bit.